make sure you love it, and be in it for the right reasons. Not for, I mean, by no means is behind the scenes that glamorous all the time. Really, I mean, and it's not, you're not in the spotlight, and not to mention even what the band goes through when they're not in the spotlight. 6 a.m. wake up calls and security checks every day and spending like
Oh,
45
tell them
minutes in the
about the
car.
London thing, man.
Or after that chartreuse gig, the terrorist thing happened in London just recently, and our next gig was in London. And I mean, if you're a musician, you know that you would carry your saxophone, your trumpet on the plane. So we couldn't carry anything on the plane. So
And the flight was canceled.
the day of, I realized I had to drive all the equipment. So I drove throughout the night to London, got on a ferry, drove to London to the gig. At 8 a.m., I got in London, just happy to be there. Terence called and said that flight just was canceled. So then they had to go and get on the train. It was trains, planes, automobiles. And just to get them there just in time to walk on the stage and play. Where I think the majority of the time the audience really thinks that these guys did nothing all day and they show up and they play and they just have a good time. But literally, it's sometimes a 20-hour gig, on how much you have to work. And things don't always go your way. And that's why I say flexibility is for my job. You got to learn to pick your battles. You got to learn what to really get excited over and upset about and what not. And you take your lumps, a lot of the times. But
you take the crunchy and the smoothie.
Right. Well put. Not the way I would have put it. Comes better out of your mouth.
Let me ask you the same question. What skills, what experiences, what knowledge do people need to have to do your job?
I think everyone in this room is farther along than I was at your age. I mean, I was studying foreign politics and policies of the Middle East and wanting to be a diplomat in Washington, D.C. I had no idea that I was going to end up in the music industry. But a friend of mine told me about a job, I applied for it, and just from the moment I set foot in that job, I knew that I just wanted to stick with it. And I never had this attitude, with any of my bosses, like, oh, my job title says that I'm a promotions manager. I cannot pack a CD box. I did whatever they asked me to do. And having that kind of mindset and doing various things along the way put me exactly where I am today. Because at no point did I say, oh, I can't do that. I can't go run a budget over by hand across town to a record company executive. Let so-and-so do it. Every single opportunity I had, and Terence will tell you this, I'm sure, in terms of his film career. Spike came to him and said, hey man, can you, write an arrangement for one of your tunes for Mo Better Blues? And Terence is like, yeah. He had never written a scene for a movie before. So that one scene in Mo Better Blues, now he's on his 38th film.
Wow.
But I'm going to say something else about that, too, and to the musicians. That also applies to the musicians, too, because you never know when opportunity is going to knock, and, humility goes a long way. Ego goes not too far. The example that I'll give to you is that Derek Hodge, I get this all the time. I get all the time, man, I want to do what you do, man, that film thing. Yeah, bro, I want to go off and jump off in that, man, because I always like film. I hear that all the time, And when I hear that, I go, okay, all right, I know what's going on. Derek Hodge came to me and he said, man, I love to be a fly on the wall just when you're writing. And I don't do that, and he said it a few times and then he was respectful, he backed off. But then he came up to me, he said, hey man, well, if I can't do that, what scores do you think I should listen to? So I gave him some scores I thought that he should listen to at the time, Glory, Shawshank Redemption, and some other things. And next thing you know, he's playing some of those themes on the piano when we're doing sound check. Then he's playing some of my themes from some of my films on the piano during sound check. So automatically in my mind, I'm sitting there saying to myself, this guy is a self-starter, self-motivator, and I don't have to baby him. He's on it. He really wants to do this. So when we were doing Inside Man, I was doing Inside Man, another project, and I had a third project. I couldn't do it. I got Derek to do it.
Really?
Yes. And
He flew himself out to L.A.
yeah, he flew himself out to LA just to be out there, wanted to do it, and we needed to be in close proximity so I could just check his work and just, kind of oversee what he was doing. But he did a great job. As a matter of fact, if you watch The Levees, he wrote 3 scenes.
Is that right?
Yeah, he did 3 scenes for The Levees. And, I'm saying this to you to just say to you that, opportunities will come. But you have to present yourself in a certain way. And it's not about telling people what you want to do. It's about showing people what you want to do. Because I grew up and I've been around a bunch of people who will talk to me and talk my ears off. But at the end of the day, that's all it is. It's all talk. But most of the guys that I know who are successful, James Newton Howard, Thomas Newman, Harry Gregson Williams, all of those guys in the film business and on the jazz side, Branford Winton, Joshua, all of these guys are self-motivated people, with determination. And that's what you need to get anywhere, because none of the stuff was perfect for us. None of it. I never knew what to do to get a gig in jazz. I just knew I wanted to play. And I wanted to play very badly. I went to New York because I heard that's where you need to be. You need to be in New York. And I practiced just because I didn't know what was going to happen, just because I liked to play. That's the reason why I practiced. And because of that practicing, I got a gig with Art Blakey. And there's a number of stories like that. I mean, the one that I always tell is, look, you guys are a little older, a little young to remember Magic Johnson when he was playing. But the stories that we used to hear about him all the time is how he just kept the basketball in his hand all the time. So it drove his mother nuts. Kept hearing that bouncing of the ball all day long. But that's very much akin to what we do as artists, playing music all the time, trying to learn something all the time, not being comfortable with where we are, but always trying to better ourselves, because life doesn't stand still. You may think that you're standing still. My teacher used to tell me all the time, he says, if you're standing still and the world is revolving and you're actually moving backwards, so you got to move forward just to keep pace with everything that's going on.
Most of y'all don't know that Terence played his high school recitals in this very room. This is the spot for you, right?
Yeah, right here, man. That's why I'm sitting there tripping. I'm looking around like, wow. As a matter of fact, you know what's funny? As a matter of fact, on this very stage, we had a high school competition, a jazz band competition, and the judges heard me, and they liked me. They heard me play a solo, and they dug what I was doing. And Freddie Hubbard was in town playing at a club out in Fat City, and they called my parents and asked if they could take me to the show, and I met Freddie Hubbard, and got a chance to play with him and sat in with him that night, all based because of this playing on this stage right here.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you talking to us today, and thank you very much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Very good.